So, Matthew 18:16 and 2 Corinthians 13 verse 1 says that in the mouth of two or three witnesses shall a matter be established, shall the word be established. Now, help me understand these. Please, I'm not being skeptical. I'm not accusing somebody. I'm just trying to understand some things that we have received in the past as established, but I am beginning to question if these things were indeed established the scriptural way in the in the um, in the mouth of two or three witnesses. So, for example, I have talked extensively about the new moon and the use of the new moon to count the days in scripture. It's very, very prevalent. It's very, very prevalent. I mean, if you are just reading on the surface, you might not be able to see it. But if you read between the lines, if you read it, you will see it. I just recently found out that even John chapter 12 also talks about Sabbaths on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. John chapter 1 says 6 days before Passover. So it's natural for us to just read 6 days before Passover and continue yada yada yada, continue yada yada without actually processing what it says. But when you think about Passover, which was dated on the 14th of the month of Nisan, and right here in John chapter 12, verse 1, is talking about 6 days before Passover. So what date would that be? It would be 14 minus 6, which is the 8th, and that's on a Sabbath day where Jesus had a meal with his favorite family, friend, cousin, whatever they are, Lazarus and his two sisters, Mary and Martha. And everyone would agree that that was on a Sabbath, but nobody wants to acknowledge that the date on it was the 8th. Once again, like all other Sabbaths in Scripture, that have a date, they are always occurring on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, or the 29th. Now, is that a mere coincidence? Is that observable on the Gregorian calendar? Have you seen Sabbaths always happening on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th on the Gregorian? It's impossible. It's impossible. Now, back to the issue that I was talking about in the mouth of two or three witnesses shall a matter be established. Now, what gives you the calm assurance to skip the witness of Isaiah in Isaiah 66, 22 to 23, talking about from one new moon to another and from one Sabbath to another shall all flesh come and worship before me, says Yahweh. Skip the witness of Ezekiel in Ezekiel 46, verse 1 to 3, also talking about the gate of the inner court, which shall be opened on new moons and on Sabbaths, and then closed on the 6 working days. Not only that, when you go back to Exodus chapter 12, verse 1, right as the Israelites were leaving Egypt, the Most High told them how to count the days. And it began on New Moon Day. And that's how Passover was landing on the 14th of the month. And the following day after Passover is the Sabbath. When you go to the Exodus 16, the manna experience, same thing. They encamped at, I believe it was Elim on the 15th for Sabbath. And then the first day of manna was on the 16th, making the sixth day of manna to be on the 21st. And right there Moses says on the sixth day, not only did they receive a double portion on the sixth day, but also Moses says, tomorrow is the Sabbath. That is the 22nd was the Sabbath. So right there we see Sabbath on the 15th and the 22nd. And, there is like prevalent testimony throughout scripture showing Sabbaths on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. Now, I highlighted Ezekiel, and I should also mention Exodus chapter 19 also gives an example of Sabbaths on the 8th, the 22nd, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and the 29th. But I mean, it's numerous. You go to the Solomon dedicating the temple. You go to the book of Esther. You go to I mean, I have scanned through the Bible and read through these. It is prevalent, the battle of Jericho. You go, like, I mean, there is a lot of um, witnesses to that being the actual fact, how the Israelites counted the days. Now, I was going to ask now, what gives you, dear Christian, the calm assurance to skip the the mouth of these more than two or three witnesses? We only need two or three, but we have more than two or three in scripture. And fast forward to way, way, way much later, after the Bible was written, to not two or three witnesses, but to an individual's testimony. What gives you the calm assurance? I mean, I am not calling somebody a false prophet, but I'm also not saying that they are a true prophet. What I'm saying is that we need to not only test the spirits, but also we need to ask the right questions, of course, with the right motive, so we can understand. I know that it's a humbling fact that you have known one thing all your life and you have believed it and practiced it with all your heart as the truth. But it's also humbling when you discover through the scripture testimony that you have been running 1,000 miles in the wrong direction. And for some people, it's not easy to yield to the truth, but for me and for some other people, the truth prevails. I don't care what anybody thinks. Scripture testimony is final. If I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of scripture, period. Now, think about these things. I am not asking to cajole anyone. I am not asking for fun, because indeed this is uh, a it's a matter of eternal interest. So it is not fun at all. It is deeply concerning to me, very deeply concerning to me, that very good Christians, absolutely good Christians, would forego the testimony of more than two or three scriptural witnesses according to the scriptures um, word that a matter will be or should be established in the mouth of two to three witnesses, and only take the testimony of one individual who, I'm not sure we were told that to expect them, because I know that the Bible does talk about Elijah coming, but first of all, Elijah is male. I mean, it might sound funny, it might sound ridiculous, but am I the only one who's asking these questions? Am I the only one who suddenly just woke up and realized, oh my goodness, I have been taking the wrong train, believing I'm headed to the right destination? It is a serious matter. It is a serious matter, and I can only encourage God's people to study the Bible more intensely. Take the scriptural testimony as final. And I can say a lot. I actually can say a lot. The Most High has revealed so much to me um, as I've been studying. Um, but I'm trying to pace it because I realize not everyone is um, is where I am. I'm not better than anyone. I'm just saying that, study wise, we have a work to do. We still have work to do because I think we have been programmed to think a certain way, to accept truth or quote unquote truth um, the way it has been passed down to us rather than what scripture actually says. And definitely this is dangerous. It's very dangerous, but I bring this up because it's a matter of eternal interest. So friends, I pray that you consider and even reconsider your thoughts on certain issues. How could you skip and I even the New Testament talks about it. you know the New Testament shows actually in practical terms these things being practiced. He may not mention new moon, not that I'm aware of, except in the book of Revelation, but don't I'm not certain about that. um, but and of course Colossians chapter 2 verse 14 to 16. um, but it is a fact, it's a scriptural fact. So for us to disregard all what scripture says and fast forward several decades later, actually more than decades, it's several centuries, more than centuries later, and take the testimony of an individual who claims to have, anyway, let me leave that. I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm just trying to open your all eyes. May God bless you as you reconsider these things. Thank you. Bye.